Episode 26, No Hipsters Pod. It's your boy Ronte, the founder of NoHipstersLoud.com. And our co-host this week is my girl, Alexis Garner. Alexis, say what's up.
Hey, what's up, Ronte? Oh, Lord.
Verzuz.
Cut. Do it again.
Do that over. Verzuz.
What is happening today? Sorry. Okay.
It's the mimosas.
It's the goddamn mimosa.
Episode 26, No Hipsters Pod. It's your boy Ronte, the founder of NoHipstersLoud.com. And this week, our co-host is my girl, Alexis Garner.
Hey, Ronte.
Welcome back.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
All right, let's get right to it. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air had their 30th anniversary reunion show this week on HBO Max, and it was everything and so much more. Everyone except for the dearly departed James Avery was there. We had everyone was there, and we got to see all the iconic moments, and we got to learn about how the show came to be. And we also got a bit of reconciliation as well. So I thought it was a great show. And it was just amazing to see that everyone has aged pretty well over the years. And I loved it. What did you think?
It was everything. I literally watched it last night and boo-hooed, cried uncontrollably. And I think it's because I hadn't tapped into what that show really meant to me, growing up and just all of the moments that I was seeing during the reunion. It just really resonated with me. And I was just really happy to see how beautifully the reunion was crafted. It was very well done. Yeah. Very
well done. And it's funny, not only did they age well, no one had any crises after the show. No one got on drugs. No one lost their money. It was just great. They had all their teeth. They still looked,
not the teeth.
It was relatively the same. And, and they're still doing well. And I love that. And so it was great. And the part with Janet Hubert was kind of bittersweet for me.
But I felt it was necessary for us to finally move forward.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that I have blasted you to pieces. We good?
We good.
We good.
We're good.
I like that they did reconcile, but it just got me thinking they really, and by they, I mean, the network, but also to an extent, Will Smith kind of ruined this woman's career. And even though it was a sweet moment for us to see that they were kind of patching things up, it didn't feel like justice for me. I feel like, this woman has lost everything, and Will goes on to have literally one of the biggest careers in Hollywood ever. And then they are kind of coming back for Will's benefit, it feels like. It still feels like this is just so Will could have his grand 30th reunion show. And so I don't feel like she was really... it doesn't feel like it's been fixed by that whole thing. But I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know if there is any fixing it. You're talking about 30 years of damage at this point. You know what I'm saying? Unless he's ready to cut the check, I don't really know. How do you fix it otherwise? And it's nice that I think that they got the feelings out. At least she finally got an appropriate platform to fully be heard. She didn't go into enough detail for my liking because I wanted the tea at that point. I'm like, sis, what was going on with the husband? Tell us everything. I want it all. And she kind of held back, I thought, a little bit. So
she probably did hold back a bit, and they probably did edit a lot of that as well, because it was a 75-minute show. And so there's only so much you can do without making this a Janet Hubert show, right? And so they had to kind of focus on what the central theme was, which was, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the cast. But, I think there was more to be said, and I think she deserves a bit more than a little, short convo with Will on camera. I think that more needed to be done. They probably need an off-camera situation where they really talk about everything that happened. But I was left feeling a little bit unsatisfied with what was done to Janet Hubert and how I guess they're kind of closing it out and saying, okay, we're coming together now and, burying the hatchet. But it's unfair. Because she was literally banished to the margins of Hollywood for 27 years.
Yeah.
And granted, I think that, part of that was probably the way she responded. She was bashing Will and bashing the network in the press. And so that probably didn't help either. But they just didn't do right by her, and I wasn't okay with it. So
yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. I don't know what justice really will ever look like for her, but I hope that, like you said, I hope that she and Will have a genuine conversation, and I'm assuming that may have happened, because I don't know how you get to the point of meeting face to face without having a genuine conversation. Like, okay, we got to come to Jesus right now and really just talk this out. So I'm hoping that happened already, but
yeah. And how do you feel about the fact that Janet Hubert was replaced with a light-skinned woman, i.e. Daphne Maxwell Reid? Like, it's always kind of like not sat quite right with me, but I don't know.
No, I mean, I think that's the agreement that a lot of people felt. It really, I remember back in the day, like when the change happened, I was like, who is this knockoff on Viv? Like, I don't like this chick. I am not happy about this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I wasn't happy, and it's like
it still feels weird to me still today.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, what? Why? Like, why? Even if they had to replace her, why didn't they just replace her with someone that looked
similar,
approximately like her?
Because that's what they would normally do in Hollywood, right? You try to get somebody that looks as close as possible. They went a totally different direction, and shockingly, the show was still successful, and I think that speaks to just like how great it really, really was that people could turn their heads to that, because it was really kind of like a punch in the face when they did that,
Yeah, and definitely reeks of colorism, but
Hollywood.
While I was watching that segment, actually, I was thinking about Monique and how she has suffered somewhat similarly since, the whole fallout from Precious with, Lee Daniels and Tyler Perry and Oprah. And not so surprisingly, she actually posted about it and said that, Tyler, why did you, blah, 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 issue an apology like Will Smith and blah, blah, blah. I'm paraphrasing it, of course, but essentially,
you really were.
But essentially,
and blah blah
blah. But essentially, it's a really long caption, essentially comparing her situation to Janet Hubert's and saying that Tyler should apologize and bringing up the fact that he just won a People's Choice Award as a People's Champ, and so and also she posts a clip from when he had called her and her husband, and they of course recorded the conversation and posted it online, and
so, which was shady. Can I say that's like a little bit on the shady side? I saw that on the blog, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. So she posted that, and as demanding an apology, and I mean, I don't think that their situations are similar enough, in my opinion, in the sense that this is. I think the circumstances are quite different where Monique had this movie and she was being asked to do certain things that weren't in her contract, and she's asking for more money because of it. And by the more things I'm saying, like making red carpet appearances and doing like all the campaign stuff to, win an Oscar. And of course she ends up winning the Oscar anyways. And so that of course makes her feel reassured in her decisions. And it just becomes this whole thing where she's not like attacking Tyler Perry and Lee Daniels and Oprah in the press. And I think it's always unwise to pick enemies that are stronger than you. And she picked 3 of those,
Yeah.
And actually now she has a 4th, Will Packer. So the 4 most powerful Black people in Hollywood don't like you right now. And I just don't think that's smart.
Yeah, that's a battle she probably could have picked a little bit more wisely, as you said. And, kind of drawing it back to the Will Smith conversation, that he had with Janet Hubert. She was saying that back then it was like the kiss of death to say that a Black woman is difficult.
Words can kill. But I lost everything. Reputation, everything. And I understand you were able to move forward, but those words, calling a Black woman difficult in Hollywood is the kiss of death. It's the kiss of death. And it's hard enough being a dark-skinned Black woman in this business.
And to see that, that same situation is very much still in place, I think that it is fair of Monique to ask for that apology and ask for it sooner, because she's trying to pick up the pieces, whereas she doesn't want 27 years to pass. She's like, we need to fix this now so that I can get on with my career and we can get things back on track. Because in all honesty, it needs to be rectified. But again, I think she's fumbling on how she's managing all of this. Like,
Right.
putting a recording out there that someone unknowingly was having a conversation with you and then you post it. That's not classy. Come on.
Right. And this is the second time because she's posted that clip like a couple years ago. Like so it's a conversation that happened maybe 2-3 years ago, and she posted it at the time, and now she's reposting to remind him of their conversation.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's funny. I think Monique's grievances are legitimate for the most part, but I think her biggest gripe should be with Oprah out of all these people, because Oprah interviewed her relative who had molested her as a child, and according to Monique, she was never okay with that, and Oprah went ahead with the interview anyways. And so out of all of these people, that's really who I think she should have a problem with.
Absolutely. Now, yeah.
But I don't think people asking you to like make red carpet appearances is that big of a deal. And if they're not, and if they choose to not pay you for it, I think there was a way you could have walked away from that without having your career damaged so badly. Mm-hmm. Like you can make an excuse, like, oh, like I can't make it. Like
I'm sick.
Because you just
whatever.
Right. Because I think she just had like her twins at the time, and so there's so many ways to like walk away from that without having a career just so. I mean, she hasn't really been the same, and you would think winning an Oscar would breathe new life into a career, but it hasn't been the same ever since. So.
No, quite the opposite.
Verzuz happened this past week. Jeezy. Jeezy, neither of us can speak to it apparently. Jeezy and Gucci Mane had a Verzuz battle, and it was very much being buzzed about because they had real life beef for about 15 years. And I don't know if you know the backstory, but back in 2006, I believe, or so, Jeezy had one of his, or rather a group of his friends try to rob Gucci Mane, and one of them ends up getting killed by Gucci.
Yeah.
And that is not something that most people can, heal from. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was amazing that they were able to do that, but you could just tell the energy was really tense throughout, and that I was actually waiting for like everyone to have to duck at any moment.
There were so many moments during that ordeal that I was just uncomfortable. Right. Oh my God, everybody in the room, like you said, like duck for cover, because I mean, Gucci was being reckless. And I'm like, wait, you agreed to come here and do this thing, and you popping off left and right. Like it didn't make any sense to me. And so, of course, watching the grand finale of it all, I was just like, did you sit up here and play me this whole time? I feel played.
Right. They had their little, like, the boy is mine moment with So Icy, which I guess So Icy is the song that started this whole beef to begin with. So I believe, I think Jeezy had recorded the song with Gucci Mane, and then somehow a version gets released without him. And so that's how this all starts. And then Gucci tries to like have his people, rob, or rather Jeezy tries to have people rob Gucci, and then, his friend Pookie Lock, as he's called, gets killed. And so, I mean, listen, if anyone tried to like make an attempt on my life, or even have people try to rob me, I would definitely be acting some kind of way. So I can't really hold that against Gucci Mane, but it was definitely,
yeah. It's just a terrible situation, to be honest. Like, and I really wasn't aware of all that background, that happened and everything. I'm just a lover of music. I enjoy both of them, and I was just ready to relive my college years, turn up, have me a little cocktail or two, and then I hear all of these like diss tracks and all this craziness, and now I got to get to Googling like what's happening.
Right, because actually, yes, the Gucci Mane plays like Truth, which is a track that disses Jeezy, and he even like references like his friend that got killed.
Send some more, I'm gonna send them the same way in a box back to you.
He was really being very aggressive, but it's quite a day. And hopefully we can get it to.
But do you think that like Jeezy thought that Gucci would really take it that far? Because like, do you think they sat down and wrote out, okay, this is how far you can take it, or do you think he took liberties? Like, I'm here now, I can do what I want to do. Like,
Well, I don't even think that there were any agreements. I think Jeezy, he actually described this in an interview the day after with Ebro Darden, and he was like, like that was my way of extending an olive branch by inviting Gucci Mane. Because if you remember, initially this was supposed to be T.I. versus Jeezy, which yes, they're both from Atlanta, but that's actually a very, very bad matchup because T.I. is so much more successful, and so this feels a little bit more evenly matched.
Yeah.
And so he said, that was my way of extending the olive branch. And also, even by Gucci accepting, I think, was a show of goodwill to an extent, even though he came there and was
acting
being really aggressive. So it was quite something. And hopefully they could handle that.
No, my favorite was when he started like counting up how much his outfit cost.
Oh my
he
goodness.
Was just trying to shine on Jeezy. It was terrible.
And then Jeezy goes, "I own half of Atlanta." It was just
there were like several moments like that. I was just like, y'all are really acting up today.
Have you heard Megan Thee Stallion's album?
Yes. I haven't heard every track, but there are some that are sticking with me for sure.
Yeah, Shots Fired for sure. The one about Tory Lanez. Yep. It just, that one really spoke to my soul.
She went for it. Sis did not hold back.
All the way. Yeah. All the way. Yeah, I loved it because, that's what he deserves. I've listened to just maybe half the album so far, and it's actually better than I expected. And I'm saying this as someone who has not enjoyed Megan's music in the past. Right. It has never really curled all the way over for me, but this one is actually, it's okay. It's not bad.
Really? Have you heard Body? I mean, that is my jam.
So Body, actually, I wasn't so crazy about Body. So based on Body, I had low expectations, but the album is actually pretty solid. It relies really heavily on like samples. So samples like Rodeo and like, Who Shot You by Biggie. So, it brings a lot of like familiar sounds. I think that probably helps, draw you in if you're a hip hop fan of a certain age. So,
and let me say this, like you mentioned Rodeo and whatnot, like being from Louisiana and then her being from Texas, that connection for me is just very special. When I hear certain aspects of her music, it just takes me back home. So I love Meg. So I could be a little biased, but I'm still trying to understand what's missing for you.
No, like I said, I'm getting there. I'm getting with this album. She's drawn me in. Now, I will say this: I've always loved her as a person, and so that's why I've tried really hard. Because every time I see her interview, she just seems like a genuinely nice person, and so I've definitely been rooting for her regardless. But the music wasn't always working for me. But this time, I might be a believer.
The tide is changing, so that's cool.
Winners and losers. Alexis, I'll let you go first.
The winner for me is definitely my girl, hot girl, Meg Thee Stallion, because she came out with the good news and she is spreading that thing. She is doing it. I am so happy for her. And I'm excited for what's to come. So she's my biggest winner. My loser is 100% Rudy Giuliani with that hair dye dripping down his head at the press conference.
Oh my goodness. It was just
tragic.
A fail. Yeah. I've never been just so embarrassed with someone I don't care about. Like, it was crazy.
That was terrible.
Wow. Okay. Those are good ones. All right. So my winners are the cast of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I think that what they gave us this week was just so on time, and it was not only right on time, but I think it just gave us everything. Nostalgia. It was laughter. It was tears. And even though it came up short, I still like that little, Janet Will moment. Yeah. So I thought that was good. And they also like created all these like viral little videos this week, which I just think this was perfect.
Yes.
The I'm Just a Kid challenge with like showing the then and now pics. It's just, I love it so much.
Yeah.
So those are my winners for sure. And of course I have to like throw Megan in there because, just for dragging Tory the way he deserves to, I think was perfect. Yeah. So yeah, those are my winners. Now, my losers for this week are everyone who contributed to bail Kyle Rittenhouse, the racist demon child who drove across states to kill people at the Kenosha protests a few months ago. I hope all those people end up broke and living under a bridge, because clearly they don't deserve to have
They really
money.
don't.
That's what they're going to use their money for.
Tragic.
It's funny. And one of the biggest donors were my Pillow founder, Mike Lindell, and Ricky Schroeder from like Silver Spoon. I don't know if you remember that show. It's like from the 80s.
I was very troubled to hear that anybody would contribute to such a fund. Like, really? Disturbing for sure.
Very much so. That's our show. Alexis, as always, this was a pleasure. Before you leave, please plug your social media and, of course, your company, Bells and Whistles.
So you can follow me on Instagram. I am Jet Set Lex, and my company is Bells and Whistles DC. So check us out on Instagram and look forward to being back again.
Of course. All right, episode 26, No Hipsters Pod. Talk to you next time. Bye.